Alrighty. I want to welcome everyone out to tonight's Tax Lien and Deeds training. I'm excited to be here with you this evening. We've got a ton of information to go over. So we're going to be looking at some upcoming auctions. We're going to be looking at some over-the-counter tax liens. We're going to talk about tax liens. We're going to talk about tax deeds. We're going to talk about redemption deeds. So we've got a ton of information to go over this evening. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, as we go throughout the webinar tonight, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask the questions down in the chat section. If you ask them in the chat section, I am able to see everyone's questions at the same time. So that way we can go ahead and answer as many as we can. Now, I'm sure that there's going to be some questions that I'm not going to get a chance to answer tonight. The best way to ask those questions, if it's kind of a personal question, send it to me in the email. If it's a question that everyone can benefit from, we have a new feature on the website, and it's going to be a tax sale form. And so that is a great place to ask your questions. It's going to give us the opportunity to learn about each other, and I really think this is going to be a huge resource for us as investors, because as we have different questions come in, and as the forum grows, it's really going to be a resource for everyone involved. So I'm going to talk about that a little later. Again, I want to welcome everyone out. Let's go ahead and get into the webinar. Again, if you have questions, ask them into the chat section, and we'll try to get to as many as we can this evening. So we have a ton of information to go over. Let's go ahead and get started. So as far as tonight's topic, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. We have a lot of students that have been working with me for years on the line. We have new students as well. So I want to tell you a little bit about my background. I also want to talk about some things that are coming, what's coming up in the future. I want to talk about the training that's available on the website right now to every single one of you. I'm also going to talk about some of the social networks, sites that I have that you can go ahead and connect to. And this is going to be a way for me to be able to communicate, put out information about tax sale lists, about upcoming auctions, about property. It's going to be, so if you're on any of the social media platforms, definitely go to my page or like it, and we'll go through it here in a minute, but it's going to be a resource for us to be able to really give out information. Also, we're going to talk about some tax sale basics. What are tax liens? What are tax deeds? What are redemption deeds? We're going to go through and do some live research. We're also going to talk about, the 3 ways to purchase tax liens or tax deeds, either through a live auction, an online auction, or over the counter. So we're going to talk about that as well. So as I mentioned, we have a full pack night. Again, I want to welcome everyone. I haven't been able to do the webinars for 3 or 4 weeks now. I've had a ton of emails come in, asking them, okay, what's going on? I apologize. I've been incredibly busy. We'll talk a little bit about that. And so let's go ahead and get going. Now, as far as my experience, just to let you know a little bit about me, I attended my first tax sale in 1999. I was a real estate agent, brand new real estate agent. My broker invited me to come out to attend the tax sale, and at that point, I really didn't know or understand anything about tax sales. He explained to me on the ride over that these people are, that these properties are being foreclosed on because delinquent taxes. And I went to the tax sale, and I was completely amazed by what I saw. I mean, at this time, the real estate market where I lived was just booming. I mean, people would list a property, and they would get offers above the price of the property. There'd be 2 or 3 offers above the price of their listing. So it was a really pretty incredible time in the market here, and yet I saw properties selling for, 20, 30, 50% of market value. And I was completely amazed by that. Seeing a property sell for 10, 20, 30% of its value at that time of the market, I was just completely blown away with. And so that's what kind of initially drew me into tax lien and tax deed investing. I kind of understood just from attending the auction what was going on with tax deeds. I didn't know the full extent, but I kind of understood, hey, these, this is what's happening. These properties are being foreclosed on because of delinquent taxes, and you're able to purchase these properties in an auction format starting at just the delinquent taxes. And then I learned about tax lien certificates, and in 2002 I started coaching investors for different companies on tax sale investing. So, how to invest tax liens, tax deeds. I coached individual students. In 2003, I ended up working for a company where I did the tax sale program retention. So I worked with everyone that was having difficulties. They wanted to cancel their program. They weren't happy. They talked to me. I helped them get started. And then through 2004 and 2006, I continued to work in coaching and retention, helping these people that were having problems with tax sale investing or having problems with the programs and materials. And that's what really was able to build the base for creating my tax sale program, because I had heard everyone's problems. I had heard all of the ways that the program, the training, the systems didn't work. And so that's how we were able to create some pretty unique strategies. Then in 2007, me and my cousin started Tax Sale Solutions. We started teaching seminars, we started doing training, and we were really the provider of tax sale education to some of the biggest seminar companies in the country. And so, the seminar company wouldn't have a tax sale program. They would hire us. We would essentially, create a program for them, teach their students, train their students, like we were the seminar company. We would be, essentially working on their behalf. And throughout that time, we worked with, thousands of different students from all across the country. In 2012, many of the seminar companies I started working with essentially went out of business. There was, several different companies that we were working with, and they either went out of business, 3 or 4 of them. And in addition to that, we had a few companies that essentially kind of took our program, took it word for word or essentially word for word and just created their own, thinking they could save money. And actually within 6 months, they were out of business as well. In 2012, we got some new accounts, and through that time, we just really had some difficulties as far as essentially getting paid on different accounts and things like that. And so eventually in 2014, Tax Sale Solutions, we closed our doors. During that time, we fulfilled on every one of our students, even if we didn't get paid, because we really felt like that was something we wanted to do. And then, of course, 2015, 2016, the future, I really see some pretty great things going on. So as far as my experience, I've had about over 15 years experience with tax lien and deed investing. As I mentioned, I attended my first auction in 1999. We've taught over 20,000 students. So we've taught students from all across the country. We've taught students from different countries as well, from Australia, from Canada, to purchase tax liens and deeds in the United States. We have an A rating, or we still have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, and we haven't paid them a dime. So we're not, paying the BBB. And I'll go through and kind of show you our BBB page from Tax Sale Solutions, just to give you an idea. We've helped many students from all across the country. We have stacks of success stories. And one thing that I think is most important, we've never been sued by a student. And that may not seem like a big deal, but if you understand training companies and kind of the way that things happen, this is very rare. And for us to never have a complaint with the BBB, never be sued by a student, and helping over 20,000 students, I think that kind of shows that what we cared most about was training. We wanted to make sure that student was happy, even if it cost us money. And all of our programs and our trainings have been copied by the competition. You can go to a lot of the programs now and you'll see investor profiles. There wasn't investor profiles until we created them. You're going to see even the word redemption deed. At that time, people called them hybrids, and we kind of figured, what is it? Well, it's really a tax deed with a redemption period. It's a redemption deed. And so, never being sued by a student, and that the programs and trainings that we created were copied by the competition, I think kind of show what we've been able to do over the last few years. Now here is, I just pulled this up yesterday, so this is totally current. You can see Tax Sale Solutions has an A+ rating with the BBB. You can see over the last 3 years we have 0 complaints. And the reason I bring this up is just because I think it's important to know who you're working with. To be able to trust the individuals. I am never going to tell you something that I don't believe. I'm never going to tell you a lie. I'm always going to tell you the truth about investing. I'm never going to try to take advantage of my students. And over the last year or so, when we kind of closed, we haven't completely closed, but kind of started to close down the doors of Tax Sale Solutions, I started working and talking, well, not working, but talking with a lot of the different seminar companies that are still out there. People's names that you would recognize, you know, people that have been on TV. And, you know, I was talking with these different companies looking to create a new tax sale program. So I was meeting with different companies. I wanted to create a new product for them. But, you know, with the companies I talked to, even though they were different companies, I got the same reaction. What was most important was, you know, how much money was going to be made, you know, how cheaply the product could be made, and you know, as far as what I see and what many of the companies I spoke with saw, it's just completely different. And maybe that's because, you know, I'm a trainer. I'm a coach. I'm not a salesperson. So I'm never going to try to sell you. I'm going to tell you how I see it. And it's possible I could be wrong, but I'm always going to tell you the truth in how I see it. And so, you know, many times the competition is overpromised and underperformed. They're looking for that big sell well. And I think that that's something that you're going to find different working with me and working with the different partners that I'm going to have in the future, is that what's most important for us is you to have success. If you don't have success, you know, I can't put my head down and sleep at night, or at least if I didn't give you all the tools that I think are available. If I can give you all the tools and then you don't do anything with it, you know, I feel like I could see you in the airport and walk up and shake your hand and look you in the eye. And to me, that's something that's important. And so, you know, I'm never going to overpromise, and I'm always going to try to do more than expectation. You know, to give you more than even what I say that we can do. So what am I looking to do? Well, I'm no longer going to be working with the seminar companies. I'm going to be able to offer training and products directly to the students. I'm looking to work with like-minded people. I'm also going to be able to offer training and coaching for 20 to 30% of what, you know, others are charging. And I'm going to offer a true money-back guarantee. This is something I talked about many times with different companies, is, hey, let's just offer a money-back guarantee. We can give them everything they need, and, you know, and most people, if you give them everything that they expect, they're not going to want a refund. And in the people that do, that's not a big deal. It's going to be a small minority. You know, that's how we were able to keep an A+ rating with the BBB. Never had one complaint in 8 years. Never had any complaints to the Attorney General. Is because, you know, we always tried to, you know, to do what we said we were going to do. And so, you know, when I do offer these training programs coming up in a little bit, not necessarily today, it's still something in the future, you know, I'm going to offer a complete money-back guarantee. No fancy words, no, you know, just a complete honest, hey, if you're not happy, I'm going to give you your money back, you go on your way, because that way I can feel good. You know, I gave you everything I could. If you weren't happy, you weren't happy, but 99.9% of the people are going to be, you know, are going to be happy with what we're able to help them do. So as far as the trading, and I know this is a lot of information that has nothing to do with tax liens and deeds, guys, but it's been a while since I've talked. There's a lot of new things coming, and really right now, you small group of students, you know, I'm working with, you know, only about 500 or 600 students right now. You know, I have a lot more that are kind of possible students, but this group that I'm currently working with is really pretty small. And so I forgot what I was going to say about that. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into a little bit of the training. First of all, we're going to have cutting edge strategies and methods. You know, there's new things that I want to create. You know, I'm still in the process of creating. Time is really crunched because right now I'm essentially, you know, running the website on my own. So I'm doing this all on my own. I'm putting the list on there, you know, and just doing all of the different things that you need to do to build a website and maintain a website, especially one that's a training website. So my time is limited, and that's the reason I'm, you know, going to be setting up things different here in a little while. Also, I want everyone to be a member of a community. I want you to be able to go to the forum and you know, talk amongst each other. You know, if there's somebody who lives in Florida and can show people around, you know, maybe we can do connections and you know, so the forum is really going to be a useful resource for all of us. I also want the training to be educational. I want it to be motivational. There's something I figured out a couple of weeks ago that I'd never seen in any of the motivation books. I've never really been told it, but I realized it's completely true. Motivating others will motivate yourself. Why are motivational guys so motivated? All they do is spend all their day motivating others. And I think that that's something that we can all look at even within our own life, is we try to motivate the people around us, our family, friends, just to do better on whatever they do, and try to motivate them. It's going to help us be motivated as well. And to go out there and to, essentially start a business, if you're looking to really get started with tax lien and deed investing, maybe not now, but in the future, that's going to take a little bit of motivation. Purchasing property isn't easy. Everyone tries to make it sound like it's so easy and it's hardly any work. It's going to take a little bit of work. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't make, $20,000 an hour. It's not that you can't go out there and do huge deals and make money with tax liens and deeds, but it's going to take some work. You're going to have to go through and look for property, especially if you want to get the best deals on the best properties in the best markets. It's going to take a little bit of work. Nothing is completely easy when it comes to actually taking your investments into your own hands. I want this education to be fun and educational, fun and entertaining. I want to have fun, not only learn and train, I want to have fun with you guys as well. I want it to be interactive, easy to understand. I want to give all of my students and my investors everything needed to be successful. So you have the list, you have the training, you have the help, so that you can go out there and take your money in your own hands and start building your retirement, building your future, building a business with it. Really give everything needed so that there's no excuse for failure. So as far as what I'm going to be offering, and this isn't even something that's probably going to be out in the next 30 days. It's probably going to take me 30 to 60 days at least to get everything set up to where I want it to be. And so until that time, everyone who is on, signed up for the 30-day guest pass is going to have training until that happens. And then afterward, I'm still going to give you additional time before before we put you into a different group. We're still going to have a group for people who want free training, but some of the additional training is going to have a monthly membership fee. So as far as the website, there's going to be a monthly fee. It's going to be a fee that's not going to be a ton of money. It's going to be well worth it. It's going to be something that's really going to be a benefit for people that are interested in tax lien and deed investing, and it's not going to cost a ton of money. It's going to be a small monthly fee. And then we're going to have two different fees, or I'd like to, one with hotline and one without. Because when you add hotline, that means I have to have a coach on the line. I have to have a coach ready to talk to you, help you. And so obviously that costs money. And so, I figure we could have a small bump in price for that. And that way the students that want hotline can get it. Also, I'm going to be setting up some personal coaching. I'm not going to have a ton of students, but I'm going to personally work with 5-10 students, really to kind of use as success stories. New students that I can take through, train, help them get started, help them purchase properties, help them invest in tax liens to create some good success stories. I'm also going to be offering some online boot camps. So this is it'll be an all-day boot camp you can attend. It's all going to be online, and maybe it'll be on purchasing over-the-counter tax liens. And we're going to show you exactly during that time how to purchase over-the-counter tax liens. We'll have different lists that we can look through. So it's going to really be like a seminar to a degree, but it's going to be online. Also in the future, I'd like to offer team coaching, live boot camp trainings, buying tours, where we go to different places in the country. Really, I have a lot of different things I want to create. I mean, I'd like to create different networks in different places in the country where we have lawyers set up to do quiet title, or we have realtors to sell properties. I'd really like to create a network of people where as we invest in these different markets, we're not only investing for ourselves, but we can help out other people that are members of our community. Okay, so let's get through that. We're all done with that, but I just wanted to get all that information out. I haven't really said that before in one of the webinars completely, so I just wanted you guys to understand exactly where we're going, where I'm coming from. Now let's get into the website. Of course, you've been to Secrets of Tax Lien Investing. It's not the most pretty website in the world, but I can do it, and it gives me the ability to add the different pages and use things like an auction calendar and things like that. And so for now, it's not going to be the prettiest, but it is very functional. All of you that are on the line have been able to sign up to the Member Center. The Member Center is where we're going to have all the different training that's going to be provided. So if we go to the Member Center, and some of you probably know this if you've been on it, but if you're new, and we do have some new students, and I also want you to know all the different features and tools that are available to you. You're going to have the Training Center, you're going to have the Auction Calendar, you're going to have the online auctions, the over-the-counter list database, the Profile Center, and now the new Forum section. Okay, so let's go ahead and quickly talk about each one of these. The Training Center, you're going to have the weekly webinars. So if you're interested in signing up for the weekly webinar, go ahead and go to the Training Center. You can go ahead and click there, sign up for the webinar. We're also going to have the training videos. This is where any type of training videos that we put out, we're going to go ahead and put in there. We're going to have the coaches blog, so that'll be the blog that you can go and read new information. We're going to have the news center, which has links to all kinds of tax sale news. So we're looking at any type of news stories that come about tax lien and tax deed investing. We put them there in the news center. You can go there and review that. We've also got a new area called the podcast center. This is where we're going to be putting audio, podcasts that you can review. We'll also have the investor forums, the training ebooks, the YouTube channel. So that's going to be the training tool. Those are the different tools that are available to you. Also, if you click on the auction calendar, you're going to see a calendar of all of the upcoming auctions. Right now I've got a ton of tax sale lists I've got to upload to the auction calendar. I just haven't had time to be able to do that, and so I'm going to be doing it over tonight and tomorrow, so that there a lot more auctions coming up for October. But this is where you're going to be able to go. You're going to be able to see all of the different auctions that are coming place. You can review from the month view by clicking on any of the different counties. You can also go up to the top and click on the week view, where you'll see a full list of the different auctions that are taking place, and you can click on any of these links to either go to the auction website if it's an online auction, or download the auction list if it's a live auction. So this is going to be a good resource to see what different auctions are coming up and what auction lists are provided. Also, we're going to have the online auction tab. The online auction center has all of the online auctions that are coming up. So online tax deed auctions, tax lien auctions, redemption deed auctions. We're also going to be adding some real estate auctions to come up for maybe if you purchase a tax deed, want to sell it, we want you to have those auction links as well. And so you can click on any one of these and start looking at any of the online auctions that are coming up. If there's an online auction coming up, we're going to know about it. We're going to put it here for all the students to have access to. Also, the over-the-counter list. We have over-the-counter tax liens, tax deeds, redemption deeds. You can go here and click and review and download any of the tax sale list. It's something I'm currently updating. But for many years, we've had the largest collection of over-the-counter tax lien list, tax deed list in the country. From all kinds of different states. I mean, we've tracked down counties and sent out for lists, and so this is something that we're going to continue to build out again, update the lists that are getting a couple of months old, and so this is always going to be something you can go to and review, download tax sale lists, and start looking at over-the-counter tax liens or deeds. Also, we're going to have the Profile Center. This is some pretty sweet stuff, guys. With the investor profiles, and I'm actually creating some new profiles right now. This is really the strategy, because with tax lien and tax deed investing, tax sale investing, there's more than one strategy. You can invest into tax lien certificates to earn interest rate returns. You can invest into tax liens to acquire property. If you're looking at tax deed investing or want to acquire real estate, then you're going to look at tax deeds. Or maybe redemption deeds. And so, there's going to be different strategies when you're looking at tax sale investing, and every investor is going to have a different strategy. You might have a strategy of earning interest rate returns, but you may only be able to do it at $400 or $500 a time, as a way to build a retirement, build some type of savings. That's going to involve a different strategy than somebody that has $100,000 to invest and want to purchase a tax deed. Totally different strategies, totally different ways to look at tax sale investing. And because tax sale investing is not just one strategy, there's tax liens, there's tax deeds, there's redemption deeds. And in addition to that, there's online auctions, there's over-the-counters, there's live auctions. And then there's also 50 different states that are going to do things differently. And so, picking an investor profile gives you the ability to narrow down the states. In addition to the investor profiles, we're also going to have the state profiles. And so right now we have 7 different profiles. I'm actually creating some new profiles to even narrow this down. And one thing about the investor profiles is once you've chosen an investor profile, it narrows down the states where you can use that profile. So right now there's 50 different states, there's 3,300 counties. Where do I purchase? Where do I get started? Well, what the investor profiles will do is that'll show you a strategy and show you the states you can use that strategy. So instead of having 50, maybe you have 10, 7, 12. And then from there, you're going to automatically eliminate half of the states. States close by you, states you're interested in, whatever. And then, you look through, review the state profiles, and pick a state or two to get started with. This is the way we've been able to funnel our students down to have success, because they pick an investor profile, then they're able to research the states, they're able to narrow that down, because that's really was one of the most frustrating things for investors when they first got started. It's something that I had to learn on my own. I didn't go to a program or have training. It was essentially something I had to learn, contacting the counties, and kind of going through that process. This is going to give you the ability to narrow this down and not have to go through wondering how to get started, where to get started, what state should I pick. You can narrow down your selection, and then from there review the state profiles. So we're going to have the different state profiles. It's detailed information on how the state conducts its auction, what their interest rate is, if it's tax deed, over the counters. It's going to be chock full of information. So we're going to have all the different states there. We also have Canada, we have Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands. So we have some different profiles there as well, in addition to the 50 states. I talked a little bit earlier about the forum. I think this is going to be a huge resource for us. Something that I want you to be able to start using, especially if you have a general tax lien and deed question, or even a state-specific question or a redemption deed question, over-the-counter question. You can see we have different topics here. First is going to be introduce yourself. And this is where I want you guys to go and create your own post. Don't just respond to my post. Create your own post so that people can respond back to you. Now, I am going to approve each one, because I want to make sure that I just want to approve each one as they come in, and then eventually as it grows, maybe we can have moderators that approve them as well, because I just want everything to be clean and good. And so, but you can go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to be out in this area. Is there any investors that are interested in having lunch or whatever? I just want to build a community where, most of the time, and most of the companies out there are afraid to have their students talk, because maybe maybe that student paid more than the other student. And there's a lot of different reasons, but they don't want collusion. I'm going to encourage it, because I don't have anything to hide, and I want you guys. We can be a resource for each other. Also, we're going to talk about getting started questions. Any questions there, go ahead and ask. Tax lien investing, tax deed investing, redemption deed investing, state-specific questions, live county auctions, and then I also need to put online auctions. So we're going to be adding one more tonight, online auctions, and then just regular tax sale Q&A questions. So something that's not, specific to those. And so this is going to be a great resource for all of us. Go ahead and start using it. Also, I talked a little bit about, the social networks, and it's actually something I avoided, and it was really to my own detriment. Because if I would have started doing social media, 8-10 years ago, I would have a huge following by now. But it was just something I avoided, but now I'm just giving in and going, and just doing it. First of all, we're gonna have the YouTube channel. This is where we're gonna be putting up videos. And I'd like to do several different short videos a week on different topics, different auctions. It's going to be a great resource for us. So if you are on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. The Facebook page, Tax Sale Secrets. Go ahead and if you go to this page and like it, and this is where we're going to put a bunch of information. You can see this property here listed, tax deed property coming up for sale. You know, let's see. Oh, this property sold for $9,000. It's worth $55,000. And so, I'm going to put all kinds of information up here on this Facebook page, and so it's a way for you to connect with me and be able to see what's upcoming, different auctions. And so, if you are on Facebook, go ahead and do it. If you're not, then don't worry about it. But if you are using these social media tools, definitely go and subscribe or like my page. Also, Twitter. This is going to be another one where we're going to put up. I'm going to put daily information on there. Have been doing it. I've started over the last couple of months or so. And so if you are on Twitter, go to my Twitter page. This is going to be another way for us to connect. So what is a tax lien? Well, first of all, a tax lien is a claim against an asset. And in this case, we're talking about real property, real estate, filed by a government taxing authority against a delinquent taxpayer. And there's really three types of tax sales. And we kind of talked about it already. There's tax liens, there's tax deeds, and there's redemption deeds. Now let's quickly talk about each one of them. Now, tax liens are the enforcement method used by the government for the collection of property taxes. This is the way that the counties collect the property taxes. Tax liens are going to be a lien against real property. Now, these tax liens, they can be offered to us. They can be offered to investors that are willing to pay off the delinquent taxes. So we're willing to pay off their delinquent taxes. The county issues us a lien against the property. Now, we can purchase these at an auction. We can purchase them online. We can purchase them over the counter. So there's lots of different ways we can purchase tax lien certificates. Now, they pay investors, they pay us a rate of return, and they give the property owners a redemption period to repay the taxes. So you pay off those delinquent taxes. The county gives you a tax lien. That tax lien guarantees you an interest rate return, and it also gives you foreclosure rights if the property owner doesn't pay up. So essentially, we're paying off the delinquent taxes. That way, the county wins. They're able to get their money. As we pay off those delinquent taxes, that gives the property owner a grace period. They're not going to lose their property. They've got a full redemption period to pay the property taxes and get that taken care of. And so the investor wins because they're not automatically getting foreclosed on. There's a grace period. And then of course we win because we're earning an interest rate return guaranteed against real estate and backed by state law. So a tax lien certificate is going to be backed by the state law, and the tax lien is going to be collateral for, the property is going to be collateral for the tax lien certificate. So, as long as we're purchasing good tax lien certificates, we're always going to make back our money plus an interest rate return, or we're going to get a chance to get a property. Tax liens, I really just think are one of the best investment tools, the best investment tool for earning an interest rate return. You invest in the stock market, that stock can go down. You can lose money. When you purchase a tax lien certificate, and in addition to that, you don't know how much you're going to earn. You're hoping you're going to earn a high return, but you don't know. With a tax lien certificate, you know beforehand what return you're going to earn. If you purchase an over-the-counter tax lien, that's going to be the state mandate, the highest rate. If you attend an auction or purchase a tax lien through some type of online auction, you're going to bid down that interest rate. So if it starts at 18% and you bid down to 15.5%, you're going to be earning a 15.5% return on your money. You're earning a double-digit return on your investment that's backed by a piece of real estate. There's just nothing better than that. I love tax lien certificates. It's just a great way for investors to invest. And then with tax liens, you can determine how long the investment is going to be. There's different ways to be able to do that. So if you're looking at a tax lien certificate, you can purchase one over the counter that's already into the redemption period. And so maybe you only have to wait 6 months before you can start foreclosure. You can purchase one that's a year. You can purchase a tax lien certificate in a state that has a year redemption period, or a 6-month redemption period, or a 2-year redemption period. Or if you just want to purchase the tax lien and don't want to worry about it for 4 years, then you can go up to a place like Wyoming, participate in their small local tax sales at the county courthouse, and purchase a tax lien that has a 4-year redemption period. Now, the property owner can pay back at any time. So the property owner can pay back 6 months, they can pay back a year, they can pay back 2 years. But once that redemption period has come to an end, then as an investor, we have that foreclosure right. We can take the property to tax sale. When we start the foreclosure, either two things are going to happen. The property owner pays up, or you are able to acquire the property. And as long as you're purchasing good tax lien certificates, you're always going to, the worst case scenario is you're earning interest rates, a double-digit return on your money. Otherwise, it's like hitting a home run and you've suddenly got a property that you purchased for 2 or 3% of its value. Overall, tax lien investing is just an incredibly safe investment, and I've never had a student lose money because they understand what kind of tax liens to purchase and what kind of tax liens not to purchase. If we're looking at even something like a building lot, let's take a piece of land for example. There's 2 pieces of land. One piece of land is a building lot. The other piece of land is a 5-foot by 100-foot piece of property in somebody's backyard. Which tax lien certificate are you going to choose? The one that's in the backyard has no value, or even if it did have value, it doesn't have any use. What can we do with it? We can do absolutely nothing. We can't force the property owner to buy it from us. Maybe they would, but we can't force them. But the building lot, that has not only value, but also has use. And as long as it has value and use, then it's a good tax lien certificate. I don't care if the tax lien certificate's on a single family home, commercial property, building lot, large tract of land, commercial property, condominium. It doesn't matter. What's most important is what is the value of the property versus the amount of the tax lien certificate. So as long as the property has value and the tax lien that you're purchasing is anywhere between 1 to 5% of the property's value, then it's going to be a safe, good investment. So that's tax lien certificates. Now tax deeds. Tax deed states, they have the same objective as tax lien states. They're looking to collect their property taxes. But what tax deed states do is they wait until the redemption period is passed. So they don't sell tax liens yearly. They'll go ahead and wait that full redemption period, send the property owner notices, just like there was a tax lien on the property. You haven't paid your property taxes, and that usually it could go anywhere from 3 to 5 years. And so 3 to 5 years after the property became delinquent, for example, California has a 5-year period, 5-year redemption period. So if somebody was delinquent on the property taxes in 2015, then in 2020, the county would go ahead and foreclose on the property and offer the property itself. And so with tax deeds, you're really looking at real estate investing. That's the reason I love tax sale investing. Not only do you get real estate, and you get real estate at, starting at 5 or 10% of the property's value at the auction, but you also have an option and the ability to earn a great interest rate return backed by valuable real estate. I just really think it's, of course, I've been preaching tax lien and deeds for many years, but, tax deeds are just a great way to acquire property. So the county's going to foreclose, they're going to create a tax deed, then they'll go ahead and sell that tax deed at a public auction. You can also purchase tax deeds over the counter as well. We'll talk about over the counter here in a minute. And so really tax deeds are a property deed. It's a form of property. When that hammer, when the auctioneer's hammer pounds down and they say, high bid or winning bid, you own the property. That property is yours. So when you're looking at tax deed investing, you're looking at totally different than you're looking at tax lien investing. With tax lien investing, we just need to make sure that the property has value, uh, check to make sure the property has value, it has use, overall it's a good tax lien. We're going to be safe. But when you're looking at tax deed investing, you're purchasing the property. You're the new property owner. So you're going to look at it completely different. You're going to do a lot more research to purchase a tax deed than you're going to do to purchase a tax lien. To purchase a tax deed, you need to determine what is the actual value of the property. You're going to do a comparative market analysis on it. Find properties that have sold or for sale that are similar to the property in the area and figure out what they're selling for so that you know what that property value is. The last thing you want to do is overinflate the property value because you're the one who's buying the property. So, we want to know exactly what it can sell for. So finally, let's go ahead and talk about redemption deeds. Redemption deeds are similar to both tax liens and tax deeds, but they're really a hybrid of both. Redemption deeds are tax deeds with a redemption period. So redemption deeds also will have a redemption period that range anywhere from 2 months to 2 years. So usually it's going to be a shorter period of time. They're very similar to a tax lien as far as earning a return on your investment, but they're more like a tax deed because the property is sold like that at an auction. For example, Texas, if you go to one of the Texas tax sales, and let's say we're looking at a single family home that starts at $10,000. Instead of bidding down the interest rate like we would with a tax lien certificate, where if you and me were bidding on a tax lien, let's say it starts at 18% and 17.75 and then bids down to 17.50, and we end up, you and me are bidding against each other, you end up winning the property at 16%. With most of redemption deed states, you're bidding up the price of the property. So if it starts at 10 grand, then you bid 11 grand, I bid 12 grand, and we go back and forth, and let's say you won the property at 20 grand. So you're actually bidding up the price of the property. So when you're looking at redemption deeds, you're going to be looking at it like you do a tax deed, because you are essentially bidding up the price of the property. In addition to that, redemption deeds have some ownership rights during that time frame. Using Texas again as an example, if you were to purchase a single family home in Texas at the redemption deed auction or tax deed auction, essentially you're going to have ownership rights. You could rent the property out, you could live in the property, and you can even get paid for maintaining the property. You're just not going to want to put a ton of money, put a brand new wing on the property, because the property owner can still redeem it. So, essentially they're selling the tax deed, they're giving you ownership, but they're saying, wait a minute, the property owner can still get their property back. And how they're going to get their property back is they're going to pay you a 25% return on your money, regardless of when the property redeems. So, let's say we're using Texas again as an example, and we're looking at a commercial property. Commercial property in Texas only have a 6-month redemption period. So you were to purchase that property that at the auction, you're going to have 6 months before the property owner. The property owner is going to have 6 months to pay you off. If they pay you off after 1 month, you're making 25% off your investment. So if you invested 20 grand into that property, it started at 10, you paid 20, they're going to have to pay you back the 20 plus a 25% return on your investment. And it doesn't matter if it redeems the next week or 1 day before the 6-month period, it's going to be 25%. So, at the very long end, it's going to be 25%, or if they were to redeem any time throughout there, it's still going to be a 25% return. In Texas, they have any type of property that is a non-homestead property. So if it's the person's primary single-family home, their residence, their home, they're going to give them a 2-year redemption period. They also give a 2-year redemption period to farmers and to farmland. They don't want their farmer to lose their farm after 6 months, and I can understand that. And so, but any other type of property, a lot, a second home, a commercial property, land, it's all going to have a 6-month redemption period. And then during that time, you're also going to have property ownership rights. So redemption deeds is really a completely different type of investment, but again, look at, a great overall return. Georgia's another redemption deed state. Redemption deeds also many times will have auctions every single month. Texas, Georgia, they have auctions every single month, and in Georgia they have a 1-year redemption period. So you purchase the property, you have ownership rights. If the property owner has 1 year to come back, pay off the amount that you paid plus a 20% penalty in Georgia, and they can get their property back. But with a redemption deed, you're more likely to keep the property than have the property owner pay back. And it is possible. That's the reason it's the reason they've set it up that way. But you're going to have a lot higher chance of getting the property than you will through a tax lien certificate. So let's go ahead and talk about picking a strategy. You can purchase tax liens and deeds, redemption deeds, in really 3 ways. First is going to be live auctions. That's where you go down to the county courthouse, you go to wherever they're having the auction, and you attend the auction in person. All of us are sitting together bidding on property together at the auction. So that's going to be a live auction. There's still almost every state still has live auctions to a degree, even though a lot of counties and states have moved online. Like Florida, probably 80% of their tax lien sales are held online now, but there's still 20% that are held down at the county courthouse. And so that's going to be the first traditional way. That's the way that it first started. And it's been going on for over 100 years. This isn't a new investment strategy. They've been doing tax foreclosures. In fact, I have old tax lien certificates and tax deeds from the early 1900s. So it's something they've been doing a long time. Second way to be able to purchase it is through an online auction. Online auctions are just increasing all the time. There's new states, there's new counties that are starting online auctions, every single week. So online auctions is something that's growing, and as investors, we need to know how to purchase at online auctions. And it also gives us the ability to purchase property across the country. So maybe we end up having a student that lives in Florida and can check on property for other investors. So I see the ability eventually to have a network where we can help each other, and everyone can have a chance to really use this strategy. I mean, I'd love to have auctions where people are where the locals are intimidated, or not intimidated, but almost frustrated to say, oh no, it's those guys again, because we're purchasing the best tax liens and deeds all across the country. Last way is through over the counter. This is essentially, well, let's go through and we can talk about each one of them quickly. So first of all, live county auctions. Live on-site auctions, they're the oldest, most common method counties use to conduct their tax sales. Every state conducts live auctions, and most live auctions are going to be held at the county courthouse. Sometimes they may be held some other building. Once in a while it'll be held at a hotel, but usually they're going to be held somewhere like that. Live auctions are going to be conducted on tax liens, tax deeds, and redemption deeds. Also, many bidding systems can be used. And we talk about that in the workshop manual, which all of you guys should have received the workshop manual a couple weeks ago with the program that I sent out for everyone who was a member of the 30-day guest pass. Okay, so also the success of the auction depends on the number of the bidders present. So obviously, the more bidders there are, the more the competition could be, or how much money a particular investor has. Every auctions are a little bit different. Some auctions will have more competition than others. Some auctions you can go in there and buy the properties for the minimum bid. Other auctions you're going to have competition where you may bid that property up. If a live auction is available in your area, go, even if you don't plan on bidding. I didn't bid at the first auction I went to. I went to just completely to, with my broker to find out, what it was, and was interested. It's going to be educational for you as you go to an auction. So if there's an online auction taking place, try attending it. It's going to be incredibly educational. Online auctions. Now, online auctions are handled by the county, except for there's many different companies that have developed software. They've developed websites for the county. So there's really kind of an industry of different companies that are offering auction websites to the different counties. So there's realauction.com, there's Bid for Assets, there's Grand Street Group, there's other ones as well. And these different companies will provide the counties with their auction websites, with their auction, with their software to be able to sell these properties through an online auction. And there's a few counties out there that have developed their own systems to handle online auctions, but there's just a ton of counties that are moving to online auctions. And so, as investors, we want to know about it. We want to know how to invest in online auctions. It gives us the opportunity to bid in property from, that could be all over the country. You could purchase tax lien certificates in New Jersey without ever having to go to New Jersey through participating in the online auction. Or Colorado has auctions coming up. Or you can purchase over-the-counters in Florida without ever going to Florida. In addition to that, you can also participate in auctions that you wouldn't have the ability to participate. We participated in a couple of auctions over the last few months where we got 2 single-family homes. I bid on those properties here in Utah, and those properties are in Florida. Now, we had somebody go out and check the properties. We have a cousin there that was able to go out there and take photos, and we were able to do the due diligence here on our end online. But we pretty much knew what the properties were and set a price accordingly, and then bid up to that price. In fact, to get those 2 properties, I'll bet we lost on 10 other properties where the bidding went higher than I was willing to pay. We've set our how high we're going to go on each one of these properties before we ever attend the auction. You know exactly. If you're looking at a $100,000 home, and let's say the home needs some work, so you figure it needs at least 20 grand, maybe it needs 10, but you want to make sure that there's plenty of room. So let's say you 20. You may only want to go up to 15,000. So you're purchasing a $100,000 home for 35. So that there's plenty of room there. You're going to know that beforehand, and if the property goes above your limit, then you let the property go. For each one of the properties we got, we had to let 5 or 6 other properties go where I lost the bidding. But that's what you do if you're going to be a smart investor. You don't want to get caught up, and we'll talk about it in the future. We've talked about it in some of the videos in the past about emotional bidding. It's going to happen to anyone, or at least to a lot of us that participate or in some type of auction. You have your preset limits beforehand. You don't get emotionally involved. That's the reason our students aren't losing money or haven't lost money over the years, is because they understand what to look before. Our students, when they go to the auction, they'll email me and say, I was the most informed person there. It's like, I was pretty much the trainer, at that auction. I knew so much more than anyone else. And that's the way you want to be if you're going to be using your own money to invest. If you're investing your own money, you want to be able to do it right. And I'm always going to recommend, I'm always going to be safer with your money than I'd be with my own. As far as recommendation or giving suggestions. I'm going to protect your money to a greater extent than I would even protect my own. So how do you get started with an online auction? Well, it's pretty simple. You can register, be done in just a few minutes. Then you're going to go through the normal property research that we talk about through the trainings, we talk about in the workshop manual and the books. This is the research you're going to do. You're going to review county records. You're going to look at other properties in the area. You're going to do a comparative market analysis if it's a tax deed. You're going to go through that property research just like you would on any other investment. Then you're going to bid, and bidding is going to take place on the auction website. So you're going to go to Polk County, Florida auction.com, whatever, and bid on the properties right there on the auction website, much like you would on eBay or any other type of auction website. Then whoever's the high bidder at the end of the auction wins the property and is awarded the tax lien certificate or the tax deed. So what is over-the-counter? Well, over-the-counter is a term used to describe tax liens or tax deeds that are available directly from the county. Sometimes we also call it assignment purchasing. Essentially, these are the tax liens or deeds that didn't sell. Let's say a county in Florida has an auction, and they have 10,000 tax lien certificates for sale. They sell 6,000 during the sale. They have 4,000 left over. Those 4,000 are over the counter. Those are tax liens or tax deeds that we can purchase directly from the county. And when you purchase a tax lien or a tax deed over the counter, you're not bidding down the interest rate, or you're not bidding up the price. You're purchasing it for the amount of the delinquent taxes and fees and some penalties and things, or you are purchasing it, so you're not going to be putting in a high bid. You're not going to be bidding against anyone else. You're going to be paying the amount. And so with tax lien certificates, over the counter tax liens, and over the counter tax deeds, they may take some more research to find the best properties, but you can purchase property at the very cheapest price or get the highest interest rate by purchasing over the counter. It's definitely something that is going to be a tool that you're going to want to use, if not now, in the long run, in your tax lien and tax deed investing. So how is a tax lien created, eventually offered? Well, I've already covered this. They have a standard tax sale. Liens aren't sold to investors. They're put back on the book. These tax liens or tax deeds are put back on the books, and then offered directly to the public. So how does over-the-counter investing work? Well, first of all, the county will put together a list of all the available over-the-counter properties. This list can be obtained by contacting the county, also, of course, on secretsoftaxlieninvesting.com. Now, over-the-counter list can range in size from just a few properties. If you're looking at some over-the-counter tax deed list, there may only be 3 or 4 properties that are available in their over-the-counter list, and it could be 20,000. So it just really depends on the individual county, the individual state, the investment type. So over the list, the size of an over-the-counter list can range really depending on the individual county. Just like online auctions, just like a live auction, we're going to conduct a normal due diligence. We're going to, determine what the property value is, go through the county records, go through that process of normal research. And then if it's a tax lien or deed we're interested in, we can purchase it directly from the county. After we purchase it, the county will send us out the tax lien or the tax deed. Alrighty, so that's the slides we want to talk about, but we have plenty of time. And what I want to do now is I want to go and look at some upcoming auctions. So we're going to go look at some live auctions. We're going to go look at some online auctions and start looking at some upcoming sales. Okay. I'm going to go through and try to answer some questions. Here's a real great question. How is the market value determined for a given property, and who and where are the reliable sources for the current local market conditions? That's a great question, and it's really going to depend on, well, first of all, the market value is going to be determined by the properties that have sold within the area. So whenever I'm looking at the value of the property, we're going to look to see, what properties are selling for in the area. Now, there's the market value, which is what is the current value of the property, the property, the value the property could sell for. And then there's also what we call the assessed value. And the assessed value and the market value are going to be different, are usually going to be different, I guess I should say. The assessed value is the amount that the county assessor has placed on the property for the purpose of delinquent property, for the purpose of property taxes. So the county sets a budget, then they essentially use a formula to determine how much each person's property tax rate is, and then we'll go ahead and set an assessed value on each one of those properties because of that. And so the assessed value many times is going to be lower than the market value. Some places the assessed value will be half of the market value. And so, there's going to be 2 different values we're looking at. As we're going through and looking at the list, they're probably not going to have the market value there. Or even as we look up the property records in the county, they're not going to have the market value most times. They're going to have the assessed value. But what the assessed value does is it gives us an idea of what the value is. We'll be able to see, okay, this property does have value, and then we can go check and see what the market value is. Now, even going to something as simple as Zillow.com is a great way to at least get an idea of what the property value is. Now, it may not be right on, it may be a little bit high, it may be a little bit low, but it's at least going to give you an idea of what the value is, because the way they determine it is based off the property that's sold within the area. And in addition to that, Zillow will have, as you look up a property on Zillow, you can scroll down and look at comparable properties. You can look at comparable properties that are for sale, and you can look at properties that are currently for sale. So you can see, okay, here's three properties that have sold over the last year or so, and here's a couple of properties that are for sale. And then you can do a comparative market analysis that we talk about in the manual, and do comparative market analysis on the property and determine how much the property is worth. So hopefully that answered the question. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and start looking at some upcoming live auctions. Alrighty. Okay, so here's secrets of tax lien investing. Of course, we talked about some of the tools here that are available to members. The profile section. Go ahead and go to the members section. Now I'm going to go ahead and log in, and we're going to go to the online auction tab. So I talked about the training center. Also, here's the forum and chat section. Let me go ahead and show you this real quick. Once you go here, you can respond to one of the questions here like this, but you can also go over. So if you're going to be introducing yourself to this, is introduction to all members, you can go ahead and create a new topic and say, hey, this is Sally from Florida or whatever, and then other people besides myself can introduce themselves to you as well. So right here, introduction to members, that's by Steven Swenson, that's by me. And so you guys can come here and say hi to me, and then of course, as other people are doing it, you can say hi to them as well. Also, if you want to go back, you can go ahead and click on board here, and that is going to take you back to the main message board. So you're going to see the different topics, getting started. If you have a question, let's say you have a question about tax lien investing, go ahead and click on this, create a new topic, and put in the title, the description, and then your question. And then I can go ahead and respond to that, and other people can see that as well. So let's go ahead and look at some upcoming auctions. So what I went and did, should have explained that. Here we went to the online auction tab, and you can always go back. Just go back to the member center. You can click there. We can click on the auction calendar. See the auction calendar. Click on the week view. Shows us the different auctions that are coming up. Online tax deed. Click here. Click on any of those. Live tax sale. So click that, and it'll take us to download the list. We can go ahead and click here to go back to the member center. So we go ahead and click on online auctions. It's going to have the online auction tabs. We can click on the online tax deed, online tax lien, redemption deeds. We're going to go ahead and click on online tax deed. And we can see here some of the different auctions that are coming up in California. We have, a few different auctions coming up. Let's go ahead and click on one. And that should be taking us to the Bid for Assets website. So here we are. We can see the different auctions that are coming up. Santa Clara on the 23rd. Here's a couple more. And we can go ahead and click on the county to pull up the county auction page. So we're going to look at some online auctions where the county has their own. Well, let me go ahead and show you the difference right now. Okay, here's Lee County, Florida. This online auction is this county has this website completely dedicated to their tax deed auctions. So they're going to have their own website for their tax deed auctions. Bid for Assets is kind of like the eBay of government auctions. So you can see that some of the different auctions or types they have. They have, the Marshal Service, federal, state, local government, bank-owned, storefronts, and then, cars, vehicles, inventory, jewelry, all kinds of stuff. But we look underneath there and where it says county tax sale. We can go ahead and click on that, and I'll just have the direct links as well on the website. And that'll take us to the county tax sale page. And then each one of these are almost like its own eBay auction to a degree, where each county will have their own web page, not website, dedicated to their auction. So if we're to go ahead and click on this one on the 16th, we're going to see that there's 26 tax defaulted properties coming up for sale. We see the auction starts on October 16th, ends October 19th. Different information about the auction, disclaimer, and then here we're going to have the county's term of sales, excuse me, facts, and then we also have the property list in Excel and PDF. So we can click on either one of these to download the list. Let's go ahead and do that. Go ahead and open it up. And here we have the tax sale list. So we're going to see information on this list. We're going to see the parcel number, the auction ID number, the city, the zip code, the minimum bid amount, the auction end date, acreage, exemptions, improvements. So we know that these properties have some type of building on the property. The land value, personal property value, very little in that because we're looking usually at real estate. And then the total assessed value. Ad valorem, special assessment. Now when I'm looking at a tax sale list, what I like to do is I like to shrink it down. And so, there's different ways that we can be able to do that. I'm not interested in this auction date. So I'm going to go ahead and delete some of these so that I can kind of get to just the meat of the information. So here we're going to see the minimum bid amount and then the improvement in the land value with the total value. So what we're looking for is we're looking for property, what is that opening bid amount versus what is the total value of the property. And with these lists, we can actually click on any one of these links to pull up the property information. So here, this property, I don't even think that one's still available. Let's look at one. Okay, here's one right here. Oh, let me actually see if I can make this bigger. So it's easier for you guys to see. So here we go. Here we're looking at this property right here. We can see it's in Fort Bragg. It has an opening bid of $24,000. It has an improvement value of 37, has a land value of 177, and a total assessed value of 215. Now, one thing we could do with this online list, this Excel list, which we can't do with all lists, wish we could, but we can actually click on this this link right here, and we'll be able to pull up, maybe, there we go. We're able to pull up the auction web page for this particular property. So we can see $24,000 opening bid. We have the information here. And from here, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and look up the property. Now, If this is a property we're interested in, then we're going to go, after we've done a little bit of due diligence, then we're going to go into the county records and look up the property records and all of that. But right now, what we want to do is we just kind of want to get an idea of what this property is. So we're going to go ahead and go to Google Maps, type in the address, and we'll pull up the property. So one thing I like to do sometimes is click on the Earth view so I can see overhead what it kind of looks like, what the neighborhood looks like. So we can see the property is right here, and we can see that this is actually on Main Street, across the street from a Country Inn, the Great Whale Inn right here. So it's by, it looks like to be kind of by some different inns. What we can do here is we can go ahead and click on the street view. Okay, so we can automatically see that this property is, is pretty run down. Really, the value in this property is going to be really the land, even more than the property. And we can see evidence of that by the improvement value being worth $37,000 and the land value being worth $177,000. Now let's go ahead and let's just check Zillow and see if it has any information on Zillow. Okay, and probably the reason this doesn't, usually it would, is I'm guessing that this property is zoned commercial. So because it is zoned commercial and is not really being used as a single family home, they're probably not letting us pull that information up in Zillow. Now let's go ahead and go back. And so essentially what we would do with this list is if let's say we had $20,000 that we could invest, or $10,000. Then what we would do is we would go ahead and go through a list like this and highlight the properties or delete the other properties that fit within our budget. So if we're looking, let's say let's use $20,000 just because this property has properties kind of in that price point. We could look at some of these foreclosure auctions in Lee County. We could do the $10,000 price point easier, but because of the prices on these properties, let's say it's between $10,000 to $20,000. If we had a total value that we could invest at 20, then we're probably going to look for properties that start, anywhere between 8, 9,000 and go up to 20, or we could try to look for two properties that may be worth, $7,000 or $8,000, $10,000, and try to get two properties for that much. But what we would essentially do is eliminate any of the properties that are above the price or below the price that we're interested in. And so if we were looking at this list, that may shrink this list down from 30 properties to maybe there's 5 properties that fit that price range and that have addresses on the property. And so that'll help you narrow down a list to where you have just a few properties or a handful of properties that you're going to do due diligence on. Usually, if you can, and if there's plenty of properties in the auction, you want to have more than one option. When we were purchasing these tax deeds in Florida, these single-family homes, we were bidding on anywhere between 5 to 10 properties per sale. So we had several different properties that we were interested in because some of those properties bid higher than we were willing to pay. And so as you attend an auction, if you just have one property that you're interested in, that property could sell for more than you're willing to pay, and you're going to lose your chance at purchasing a property. It's better to let it go than to overpay, but you still, that's the reason if there is more than one property that fit what you're looking for, then to be flexible enough to say, okay, we're going to look at these 3 different properties, and if we can get one within our price range, then we're going to go ahead and win and bid on that property. And so you'll bid on every property until you are able to win one at the price range that you're looking at. So let's go ahead and click off this quick. And let's look at another county. Here's Tulare. probably saying that wrong, but oh well. Is this the property? Let me go ahead. Okay. So what I want to do again, also down here, but we also, the Excel list, the PDF list, and then we have the online files here as well. Now, it's not going to give us much information except for the APN number. So essentially, if you're going to research this way, you've got to go through and click on each one of these individual properties. That's the reason sometimes I will like to download the Excel list, at least for Bid for Assets, to get started with, because I can go ahead and look over all of the information and not spend as much time going through and clicking on each one of them. So we can see information here. We don't care about the legal description right now. So as we're looking at this list, let me go ahead and make it bigger again so you guys can see it. Okay. So here we're looking at the tax sale list. We can see the minimum bid amount. We can see the property address. I'm going to erase all this information just so we can see it all. Okay, so now we're looking at some information we can use. We have the property address listed right here. We have the minimum bid amount, we have the improvement value, we have the land value, and the total value. So here's a property with an opening bid of $11,000. We have the address right here. We can see it's worth $44,000. We can go ahead and click on this link here and pull up the property information. We can click on the parcel map. But really what we're looking for is we're looking for that address. Because if it's a property we like, then we're going to go ahead and look up the county records. So it's a little bit different when you're using Bid for Assets than using real auction like this, and I'll show you, because these auctions will have the county link that'll automatically pull up the property record. These guys don't. So I can see here from the street view, I can't quite see a home there. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the overhead view just to see if I can see anything there, and it doesn't look like it. It looks like it's actually a vacant lot, so I'm not quite sure where that additional property value is coming in from. Oh, never mind. There's a property back here. So right there. So here we're looking at a single family home. Now, we know that it has an opening bid of that gets me a little worried, because and that's one thing you're going to want to look at, and that's the reason I like to look at the satellite view, is I can't see a home here. Now, it is possible. No, that's not it there. There's no way that's it. So we can see that there may have been a home sitting right here. Because it doesn't look like there is. See, and what we're looking at is if you don't see a home here, but you see a home here, then we're going to want to do some more research on it before we purchase it. Now, with tax deed investing, I always recommend that either yourself or somebody goes out and does an on-site evaluation for you. Either take pictures of the property and take a look at the property. And there's different ways you can do that. We'll talk about in the future. You can hire people. You can even with the internet now, and with the ability to send somebody money through PayPal or just all the different options, you can find somebody online pretty easy to go take photos of the property. Everyone has a camera on their cell phone, and if a student or if someone can go out and make an extra $50, $100 to take photos of properties, you can usually find somebody who's willing to do it. But here we're looking at a property where we don't see the single family home here. When we click here, I can see it back here in the background, but that's what we call a red flag. So we're going to want to do some additional due diligence before we get, really sold on this particular property, because we need to determine, hey, is the property still there, or is it maybe been torn down for some reason? So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go to Zillow. And we're going to go ahead and look up this property. Okay, so we can see here that there's an estimated value of $147,000. And when I look at this satellite image, I can see the property there. So chances are this property is no longer there. That's good to know, right? This is the reason, my students don't make mistakes, is because we look for things like this. We look for red flags. I mean, you would know this before bidding on the property anyway, because we always recommend you or somebody else do an on-site evaluation. But these are the things that you look for. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody sees this property like this, and then they go to the street view, they see the property, and I wouldn't be surprised if somebody bids on it without ever looking at the property, and without ever determining and making sure that the property is there. People do it, and so it's good to go through and to look for these things as we're looking at individual properties. Okay. So, and on this one, we can see that there, appears to be a property. You can see it right up here in the street view, but we know it's not there. Now, that doesn't mean that this may not still be a great piece of land as far as the price is concerned. For 11 grand, maybe it's worth 50,000. Maybe it's worth 60,000. That would have to be determined. But we know that right now it's just a full building lot. There's no property there. It's good to know. So we're going to go ahead and eliminate that property, unless we're interested in the land. Here's another property. Looks like it has a small improvement value. Doesn't have a lot of value, so let's go ahead and skip that one. Okay, here's one right here. For a $7,500 opening bid, let's go ahead and click on it and see if it's still available. It is. We have the address of the property here. Let's go back to Google Earth and let's take a look at the property. Okay, so we're looking at this property right here. Looks like it needs some work. Looks like they've got the roof covered, so maybe the roof's bad. But people were living at it on one time. Well, he's got some carpet. Maybe they're... Well, I doubt they're remodeling. It's going up to tax sale. Let's go ahead and let's see what this property value is, or what Zillow estimates it to be. Okay, so Zillow estimates it to be $168,000. Now let's just say that Zillow's wrong, and that this property is only worth $141,000. For a $7,500 bid, would it be a good investment? Well, yeah, even if you need to do some work on it, you could still make a good return off that investment. I mean, if you purchased it for, let's say you got it for 20 grand, you put 20 grand into the property, could you turn around and sell it for 150 and make a great return? Yeah, you might be able to. So even though this property isn't ideal, there could still be a lot of money in this property, because what we're looking at is the price. You know, the price is going to be the most important thing. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go and let's look at Lee County. So we went over here, we looked at this Florida auction. You can see these Michigan auctions coming up as well. They have resales that are coming up where properties start at $100. They're going to sell every single property. So they've already auctioned them, they've already tried selling them at the auction. And instead of doing over the counters, they have what's called a resale, where they'll sell all properties starting at $100 or $300 or $500. In fact, I helped an investor last year purchase $200,000 worth of real estate in lots for about $2,500 at one of these sales. So, you know, it's a pretty interesting way to purchase property. You're not turning around and selling it for top dollar. You're just trying to turn around and sell it, make a good profit, quick profit. You know, so maybe you pick up a property for $300, some type of lot. Let's say the market value on it's 15, but you turn around and sell it for 3 or 5, just because you're selling to the property owner, to somebody in the neighborhood, just to get rid of it, sell it quickly. So Michigan's auction's coming up. You can see all of the different sales, but let's go ahead and look at Lee County. We've already gone about a half an hour over. I always go over, but it's just the way that it is. So, and let's go ahead and go to October, and we can see that there's several different auctions, almost an auction every single week. There's 42 properties available. It started out at 68, and now there's 42 because some property owners are coming to pay off their property taxes. That's the reason we're not going to spend a lot of money, you know, on properties until a week before the auction. You know, you're not going to go out and start looking at properties or sending somebody out to look at properties for you, you know, 3 weeks before the auction, because some of those properties are may be gone by the time the auction comes, and you don't want to spend hours doing research. So what you're doing is you're going through and you're looking at different properties that look good, that look like possible properties. And so let's say you go through one of these auctions and there's 47 properties available, and there's, you know, 8 properties that you're interested in. You'll go through and review the information now, determine, you know, maybe even do some comparative market analysis, some quick ones, or look at comparos, review property records, check out the neighborhood. But you're not going to do full due diligence until you're within a week of the auction. That way you're not spending time looking at properties that you may not even be able to bid on. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at a couple of these. So as we're looking at this list, we're going to see information. First of all, we're going to see the opening bid amount. We're also going to see the address, and we're going to see the assessed value. Those are really the only things I care about seeing. What's the opening bid? How much is the cost? What's the starting cost? What's the address? I want to make sure that has an address. We can see this one doesn't have an address, especially if you're a first-time investor. You know, you want to make sure that the property has an address. You don't want to get stuck buying a property that's landlocked. Now, as you make more and more investments and do more, then you can look at different types of property. But to start with, you want a property with an address. And then what is the assessed value? This has an opening bid of $12,000 and assessed value of $3,000. I'm not going to even look at this property. There's no reason to even check this property out. Has no address, has a low assessed value, and has a real high opening bid. You know, not worth our time. Here's another property, opening bid of $1,700, assessed value of $3,000. I'm not going to look at that. Here's a property with a very high opening bid amount, and it only has assessed value of $69,000. Now, there's a reason that this property is higher than this property right here below it, that's for $3,000 and has an assessed value of $63,000. And the reason is because this property here is owner occupied. In Florida, if you do the deed foreclosure and send the property to the auction for a property that is owner occupied, a homestead property, then the county will start the assessed value at half of, start the opening bid amount at half of the assessed value. It looks like they went ahead and did that, and then in addition they put on the delinquent taxes on top of it. And so that's the reason this property is starting at $42,000 for a $70,000 property, while this property is starting at $3,600 for a $63,000 property. But let's go ahead and just take a look at it anyway. So we can see it's a single family home here. You can see that here's the county records. This one actually has a photo with it, so that's kind of nice. We can see the satellite image right here. We have the site address right here. Single-family residential. Looks like it has an assessed value of $77,000, so it looks like it's a little bit higher on the county record than we see here. We can also see over here that it has two bedrooms, one bath. It's about 936 square feet. It was built in 1981. And we can see a little property here. So, this looks like a pretty expensive property for the amount, for the opening bid amount. But we're going to go ahead and just check it out on Zillow just to see. Now, the assessed value is going to be quite a bit lower than the market value. So the market value is $112,000. So, in looking at this property, we're really looking at about 40% of its value. So that would be a very high amount to pay for the property. Now, could you still make money on that? Yeah, you could. I mean, you have $60,000, $65,000, $70,000 worth of room there. You might put, looks like the property needs a little bit of work, so you might be putting in, some money to fix it up. Now, the property below this, we can see has a $3,600 opening bid amount, has an assessed value of $63,000. And we can see here it must be a condo within this unit. It's a little 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 980 square feet, built in 1988. We have the site address right here. Let's go ahead and do a quick Zillow search and see what Zillow thinks it's worth. So Zillow has this property valued at $110,000. So even though it's starting an opening bid amount, let's say that it's worth $100,000, just for argument's sake. And so it's worth $100,000. How high would you be willing to go? Would you be willing to pay $10,000 for it? Would you be willing to pay $20,000 for it? And then once you've determined that, then you're going to set that bid, and you could bid on this property after you've done the due diligence. But you can see what type of properties come up for auction. You don't find real estate that starts with an opening bid of $3,000. It's possible if nobody else bid, and I doubt it, but let's say nobody else bid, you could buy that property for $3,000. Here's a property right here for $4,000. And we can see that this property is a commercial condo. 1,200 square feet, commercial condo, has an assessed value of $62,000. It's probably worth double that. So overall, a good investment. If you're looking for rentals, this could be an incredible investment. Put some type of business in there, and you've got residual income coming in from a business. Let's go ahead and check out another day. Here, let's check out the 13th. So we can see the very first property, a $3,000 opening bid. It does have an address, and it has about a $30,000 assessed value. So again, we see a condominium. And so when I'm looking at properties, or if I'm planning on participating in an online auction, I'll just go through and do some due diligence on this, and then I'll make a note of, okay, I'm interested in this property, I'm interested in this property down here, whatever it is. And then as the auction gets close and these properties are still available, then I'm going to go into my into the full research of the property, the full due diligence, and we'll talk about that in other trainings. So we see this next property, $900, $1,300 assessed value. We're not going to spend any time looking at those kind of properties. Here we see one with an opening bid of $2,958, though, has an assessed value of $33. Now this property here looks to be a land, just a piece of a lot. It has bedrooms and baths, but there's no bedrooms and baths there. These are the things that we look for. This is suddenly, you can see bedrooms and baths down here, but there's no home there. That's a red flag. So we know well, if we're interested in bidding on this property, we're going to need to do more due diligence than we normally would. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's see if there's some type of street view. And one thing that's nice as well on and how we were able to tell with this property here, I'm going to go back to this California property quick, where we could see that, oh, this is the different one, but that one that we saw before that was just it looked like it had a home and didn't have a home. We'll know how, we can know how long that, let me say that again, it's been a long day. We can know, well, let me just show you this. We can go down here to the bottom, we can see that this image was taken in 2015. If we go to a street view, we can see that this photo down here is from all the way back in 2011. So this is actually an older photo than we usually normally see. Normally, you know, they're anywhere from 6 months old to a year old to 2 years old, but this is an older photo. So we can look down here at the very bottom and see when these photos were taken, when these street views were taken, to know how long it's been since that photo was taken. And of course, because it was probably an older photo, and the satellite image was newer, that's how we could see that the home was no longer there. So here's the property right here. We're going to go ahead and click on it, and we can see that, oh wow. We can see, first of all, I can see that the property appears to be boarded up. So we look into this property right here. And this was taken in January 2005. So if this county record is completely current, or this photo is right, then there may not be a property here. But usually if they have the newer photo, they're not going to have the information down here. So we'd definitely do some more due diligence on it. And it looks like it needs some work anyway. Here's another property right below it. Let's go ahead and click on that one. And now that's a nice little home. I like that property. Oh, it's actually I thought it was a I didn't realize it was a trailer. Well, not necessarily a full-on trailer, but a modular home. But we can see it over here. Looks to be like, on the waterway. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's look a little bit more into it because it looks clean. We can see down here below, it's actually quite small. It's only 405 square feet. It was built in 1993, one bedroom, one bath. So this must be some type of community, because we can see several little homes there along the way. So let's do a little bit more due diligence on this property, do a little bit more research. Okay, so we can see the property is located right here. Looks to be within community. Now we can't get a street view on this property because they probably don't go within here, within this area, and do the street view. But we can see it right here. And we also, of course, have the photo of the property here. So what we're going to do is we're going to see what the value of this property is. Okay, so it has a value of $55,000. We know it was built in 1993. It sold in 1990 for $16,000, and that was before the property was built. So they probably bought the lot for $16,000. And we can see the properties here in this community range is at $125,000 on the high end, down to this property at $55,000 is actually on the very low end. But it's also probably because it's a one-bedroom, 400 square foot property. But is a clean little home. So looking at this property, you know, when you're looking at opening bid amount of $2,695, you know, that's what makes tax deed investing such a great way to acquire real estate, is because, you know, we're looking at starting the opening bid at just a small fraction, and even if the bidding goes up and bids up, you know, 10 times that amount, well, not 10 times, well, let's say it bids up, you know, 5 times that amount, that's still going to be a great value for this particular property. And you can see all of these different properties that are coming up for sale. Here's one for $6,000, it's worth $106. Here's one for $21,000 that's worth $344. Wow, let's look at both of these quick. I know I'm going over time, but when I start looking at property, you know, I get going. So this is a newer modular trailer home. We could go ahead and check that value. It's probably on a real big lot. That helps to increase the value as well. Let's look at this property for $21,000. Okay, now that is a nice home right there. That property right there is coming up for tax sale with an opening bid of $21,000. And we might just end on this property because you can't do a nicer property than that. Well, you can, but I've seen really nice properties. But this is a great property. So we're looking at a property. It has a $760,000 assessed value. It's 4,263 square feet. 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath. It's on just under a quarter acre, half acre, built in 1991, and we can see that it sold in February 2004 for $545,000. We can also see back here from this picture right here that it has an indoor pool. Overall, a very awesome property, starting with an opening bid of $21,000. I mean, you just really can't do better than that. Now, this property may bid up, and maybe it bids up to $200,000. But a property that's valued at $760,000 that you could acquire for $200,000, you know, there's still a huge amount of profit. Even if you paid $300,000 for this property, you'd still have almost $400,000 worth of wiggle room for profit. And so that's what makes tax deed investing so exciting, and really has so many different opportunities. And we can go look at the sales transactions. We can see that it sold in 2004 for $545,000. It sold in 1989 for $65,000, and I'm sure, well, we know that was before this property was even built, because it was built in 1991. So when they bought the lot, they spent $67,000 for the property. It's a 4,000 square foot home built in 1991 with a assessed value, with a opening bid amount of $21,000 with a market value of over $700,000. You know, these are the type of properties that are available through tax deed investing. We saw properties that started with an opening bid of $2,000, or well, $2,500, $3,000, up to a property that started with an opening bid of $21,000, and we've seen all different types of property between there. And then with tax lien investing, it's really just kind of the same process. We just make sure that the property has value. We don't have to do as much due diligence. If I saw a tax lien certificate on this property, even if I saw a tax lien on this property for $10,000, I would have no problem buying that tax lien in a minute, because you know that tax lien is protected by a great piece of property. Alrighty, well, we're gonna have to wrap up. We're already gone over about 50 minutes, but I want to again thank everyone for being on the line tonight. We're going to be doing the weekly webinar starting again, so you know, I'd like to have you, or love to have you again, join us again next week, and we'll be starting to go through. We're going to do some research, but we're also going to go through. So each week, over the next 3 weeks, we're going to talk about online auctions one week. We're going to be talking about how to participate in a live auction, and then we're also going to be talking about how to buy over the counter. So over the next 3 weeks, we're going to tackle each one of those topics, get into what's involved, look at particular properties, look at upcoming auctions, look at over the counters, and really help you guys, take you through the process of becoming a tax sale investor. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and send me an email, and then of course go to this new forum section And I have a live chat, but that we're not going to start that until I have the ability to do it as well. So that'll be something that'll come in the future. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. You can go ahead and click on Introduce Yourself, create a new topic, introduce yourself to the community, and then if you have any questions about any of these topics, go ahead and ask it. So if you have a tax deed question, tax lien, getting started, whatever it is, go ahead and ask it, and it'll be a good way for me to be able to respond to you, but then also have that response be helpful to other people. And so again, I want to welcome it. Thank you guys for being on the webinar, being part of the training. We've got some big things coming up. I didn't even get into a lot of the things that are going to be coming up here in the next couple of months. And so I've held back, but I wanted to talk about some of the things that we went over earlier about what we're doing, what we're looking to do. And then again, I want to thank you for being part of the community, and I hope you guys had a good evening. Thank you and good night.